Hollinshead spent 4 years as a member of the Charleston County School Board representing the North area. Now he's asking the residents of North Charleston to give him a chance on North Charleston City Council to represent the city's District 10 area. I speak exclusively with Kevin for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Kevin Hollinshead, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you, Quintin. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing just great here.
Well, it's good to see you again.
Likewise. I know that obviously you are a former Charleston County School Board member. You are currently on the Berkeley, Charleston, Dorchester Council of Governments.
Yes.
You also are a former Charleston County Sheriff's Deputy.
Yes.
And of course, we know you here in the Low Country. Now, you're interested in becoming the next council member for North Charleston District's 10 area, which we're currently sitting in, which represents.
Yes, sir.
And parts of Park Circle and.
Yeah, parts of Park Circle, the Union Heights area, Academy area, Shakur, Cherokee, Dorchester Terrace, all the way up to Barnes Avenue, and parts of Park Circle.
Wow. Now, I understand, Mr. Hollinshead, that obviously you ran a couple of years ago for your old seat on the Charleston County School Board.
Yes, sir.
And now you're coming back to want to represent the North Charleston City Council, residents of North Charleston City Council's District 10 area. Is this for the people, Mr. Hollinshead, or is this for your political ego?
No, actually, I was born in this district. I don't know if you know the history. When I first got home from college, I ran for city council when they had first single-member district. I ran against Gussie Green, the first lady to sit in the district. I lost that race by 1 vote. That's the first time I learned anything about, when one majority wins a race. And I tried to run again after that, but I took a break. My fondness is for District 10. My high school I graduated from is in the area. Most of the people in this close-knit community I grew up with. So my intentions, even when I was on the school board, was to serve those who are less fortunate.
Now, what exactly were your accomplishments on the school board?
I brought a lot of awareness to the underplight of African Americans and children that were underserved. As you know, there was big business in education. People don't realize that, but there are. That's why you have a billionaire spending $1.5 billion in ads to control 3 schools. I recently just understood. I was commissioned to represent a charter school that actually was managing their own affairs. They were able to save $5 million. And I started scratching my head. And I was like, what? And so then I started realizing, talking to some of my friends that work for the district that I still keep in contact with today, finding out that like James Island Charter has $10 million, Orange Grove has about 15, Voyager has about 10, and I'm sitting there scratching my head and I'm saying, that's money that they control. So I was learning more outside of being on the school board than I was on the board, but that's why I support initiatives like North Charleston to separate from the district, because if we control our own plight, we'll be able to put those resources back into those schools that are badly needed.
Well, Mr. Hollinshead, Dan, let me ask you this. How many buildings, how many facilities does the city of North Charleston owns that can allow them to separate themselves in the school district?
Well, see, what will happen is that you will actually acquire the properties that the district owns because they're in your city, and then you will work out arrangements to make sure that you pay for them or you lease them. That will have to be done. It's a complex situation, but it can be done. First thing I would think you would need to do is to do a referendum in the presidential election and see if North Charleston citizens want that.
Why not now?
Well, because you want to get people's input. You want to be able to market it, tell them the pros and cons, and let the citizens judge. That's the reason why also I'm running for District 10. The citizen in District 10, with the incumbent, has been representing his view, or the current administration's view, but not the community's views.
So what is the community's views and what is Mayor Summey and Michael Brown's views?
Well, Take it for example, Quintin. You have in Park Circle $40 million to Danny Jones and Park Circle in development of those two facilities. And then you got in District 10 where you have nothing yet. After 16 years of this incumbent in place, you're just now spending, because of the election year, trying to spend $16 million on a senior citizen center within the community. But for 16 years, the area was neglected. Going up the road to Dorchester County with the aquatic center, you spent all that money up there, but then you neglected District 10. A lot of citizens in District 10, in the area that I grew up in, resented that. You would go back and tell folks that, hey, look, my area didn't want that. My area didn't need that. My area has different views on that. And I'll give you one classic example.
Okay.
The Working Together facility, when you leave here, back up here to the right, they want to do a transitional facility for battered women and children, room and lodging. And so the county gave $1.3 million, North Charleston committed $1.2, and Bowen committed $1 million for the facility. The current council member blocked the zoning change and said my community didn't want it. Now check this out. Charleston County deems 400 students that are deemed homeless in Charleston County. And you're talking about an 18-bed facility, which is a minor impact to your community. And then, as much as women are battered and beaten on, that you will block something like that, who could be so heartless?
And to be fair, I want to get Michael Brown, senior on Quintin School Stuff, to get this side of the story, as well as the mayor or someone from the city to get this side as well. But how many battered women are there in your district right now?
Oh gosh, I don't have the actual number, but I know the number for the state is high.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
And where exactly would they have built this particular facility if it would have went through?
Right around the corner at College Grove Rivers, at the old Cherokee Church.
Yes, sir.
Yes, they bought it and took it over. I heard they're going to move the facility somewhere else now. But this is a poverty-stricken area with a lot of in-transit people, so why not put it here?
Why not put a food store here?
Well, I'll tell you what, Quintin. Back in 2015, I got this letter I'm going to give to you for your website. I worked with some businessmen to bring to Mayor Summey and to Councilman Brown a proposal of Dosh's grocery store to come into the area, but also Piggly Wiggly. Piggly Wiggly gave a letter of intent and contract to the mayor that they want to take occupancy in the Shipwalk Square facility, which is right next door. Here's your copy. You can read it for yourself. And they blocked it. So for many years, the campaign promise was the city was going to put money into the facility. They were going to put a grocery store. The city had to fund it. Never happened. Broken promises. Because this is the area that people look down at.
In that contract, what did they specifically, Piggly Wiggly ask the city of North Charleston provide to make this happen?
They just want the property. They were going to build the whole complex. I can give you the actual contract. They were going to build it from the ground up and stock it. And when would be the timeline? When would have been the timeline for that? Well, if the mayor had brought it before council, him and Mr. Brown that blocked it would have brought it before council, it would have taken about maybe a year or two. Just like, for example, the misgiven information that went out the other day about a food line closing on Dorchester Road. That drew a lot of criticism, a lot of concern within our district. That's a neighboring district, but still we're all together. And it took, to be honest with you, it took County Councilman Teddy Pryor and myself looking into it to find out that that was a lie. They basically said that the store was going to close. When you contact the corporation food line, they said, no, that's not true. But then it was stated in council meeting that that facility was closing. That store is the #1 store within the community, within the county, that makes funds from cash sales, food stamp sales. So even with theft going on, they still make money. That was the same thing with the old Winn-Dixie next door. It was the #1 store within the county. The problem that happened with Winn-Dixie, and I learned dealing with grocery store chains, it got to a point when Winn-Dixie shut down there's other stores within the state, and they were coming out of Jacksonville, Florida, or somewhere down there in Florida, and it got to be too much to run a truck to Charleston just for one store, even though it was a record-breaking store. So that's why they closed it up.
And what were the pros and cons of actually bringing Piggly Wiggly here, besides what you just mentioned earlier?
Well, it's a local-owned business, family business. They went through their spill of getting rid of the stores. They were on the mends. They had the resources to make it work. And it would have generated local jobs. It would have been putting money back into the community.
Yes, sir.
But now here we are looking at an empty lot again with no store.
How many jobs would have brought to this area?
Well, maybe 50 to 100.
Wow. And I want to talk to you more about that in a second, but as a disclaimer, your opponent, Aaron Hicks, told me on Quintin's Close-Ups that Food Line was allegedly closing. You just dispelled that rumor?
That's not true.
Okay.
You can call, I can give you the corporate number, you can call yourself. It's not true. And I already heard media sources also validated that wasn't true.
Now, going back obviously to what you talked about earlier as far as your experience in the school board, you talk about obviously the underserved areas in the Charleston County School District. How many are there in District 10?
Oh gosh, you have the pockets of Socorro Cherokee, you have the pockets of Union Heights, you have the pockets of Academy, and then the Dorchester Road Terrace area. Those are the most poverty-stricken areas. Just the other day, riding down Dorchester Road, they just had another murder off on East Surrey the other day within the district. I talk about safety.
Okay.
We need to, for the last 20 years, North Charleston Police, if you live in this area, they spend more time chasing people up and down the rivers and Dorchester Road, pulling them over, and they're not doing anything to work on community policing again. Community policing is a vital asset to deter crime within the community.
So how many people have they pulled over in the past 4 years in that corridor?
Gosh, I got a videotape of one I can send to you. They pulled a young man over, and he didn't have any drugs or anything. It's just like, if it meets a suspicion or to them, they pull him over.
Wow. And how long has this been? How long has this been trajecting upwards? I should say.
Oh my Lord, I have seen this going on for like the last 6 or 7 years. There's a lot of good officers in North Charleston Police Department, but then also, as you know, as I was a former officer, there's some that we call renegade spirits. And they get out there and they want to be cop solving, to build their reputation, and they go out there and they just go into a poverty-stricken neighborhood and don't know the people, and they come in there and they just start, going at it. And they don't think about building community relationships. Community policing, if you go back to even, North Charleston did a good job of it years ago, but if you go back to Chief Greenberg, and I was talking to some former officers that retired, even his flying squad, the flying squad wasn't what you thought it was. They saw the more criminal activities within the community because they did a lot of community policing.
What is the description of that flying squad here in the city of North Charleston?
I haven't seen anything like that anymore. I have not.
Wow. And I want to touch on that in just a minute, more on that in just a minute, but I want to go back obviously to the idea of separating North Charleston, the city of North Charleston, from the Charleston County School District. How many properties does the school district own currently in District 10?
Quintin, I think it's about 20 to 25 units.
Wow. And how much would the city of North Charleston have to pay for some of these properties to get from the school district?
Well, that's something that has to be negotiated. First, I think you have to do is you have to, like I said, go for the referendum. You need to hire someone to educate the council and the community on the pros and cons. I would think everything's not a slam dunk deal.
Okay.
It needs to be educated. I always believe in fair balance of education, then make an informed decision. I don't believe in like the current council member talks to 1 or 2 people and he forms his own opinion and tells you that's that. I believe in also doing what I call block captains and community leaders other than community presidents. also being involved in surveys. Giving them a place at the table to make sure they have their voices are heard. They can go down their street, talk to their neighbors, fill out the questionnaires, and then come back and we can compile the information.
Now, what are you hearing from the constituents currently?
They don't like the style of bullying. They don't like the style of what's been, the area's been neglected for so many years. They're not happy with it.
Well, what other areas in District 10 are being neglected right now?
Well, they're the same areas that I'm telling you. I mean, we took in Park Circle, and we look at Park Circle.
Sure.
It is awesome. They don't have any problems over there, so they don't even. We have to educate them, but I don't know if they're concerned about the issues of outside of the district. You got this again, Shakur Cherokee. Right. You have Union Heights, sure. Dorchester Terrace Road area going up to Barnes Avenue. Sure. Those areas are platted areas. Now, funny you said that. I have begun to notice even non-African American whites are moving into those areas because of the great migration from the city of Charleston. They can't afford to live in those areas anymore. So what they do is in Union Heights, they take a $50,000 house and either they sell it or renovate it to move into. Wow. And those units are going for $150,000 and they bought them for $50,000.
Wow. Now, how many of those homes have been sold and how many of those homes are actually been renovated?
I saw about 20 to 25 in the Union Heights area.
And you talk about, obviously, that move. So how many residents did this particular area gain over the past 2 years?
It's growing. It's growing again. And see that, and that's
exactly.
Well, it's growing in the Terrace area. Mm. It's growing in Union Heights. Mm. It's growing in Shakur Cherokee. Sure. You're getting an influx of people that normally would not be in these areas, but because of economic interest, they're in this area now. So you can't fault them for that.
What exactly are the economic interests for this area?
Well, the economic interest in this area is affordability. Now, what's happening with the Real Estate Association
yes, sir.
is they're trying to make money off of it. They're not thinking about the affordable housing issue of they're displacing the people in the area that live in this area for various reasons of their economic interest. The Real Estate Association economic interest, which I didn't do their interview, are the interests of them privatizing and making money.
Where exactly are they privatizing certain areas of this district?
Look around, all around you, Quintin. If you walk out the door, you can see the impact. I'll give you one classic example. Okay. Look at the base project. Mm-hmm. They gave it to a developer that actually owns the Old Naval Hospital. Okay. And I don't know how they did the vetting on that. They gave him a $2.2 billion development deal, 700 acres, and with a handshake. No contract, no DBE requirements to make sure that local people participate. Women and African Americans participate in the project. Just a handshake. But you're talking about 700 acres, and you don't even have 10% of it set aside for affordable housing and VA housing. You don't. Or you could say a portion of that 10%, if you were able to negotiate that, would go to helping senior citizens in the area to weatherize their homes and, to make sure that their electric bills are low. It's just not happening. All they did was like, we're going to make the rich richer and forget about the poverty people within the area.
Now, those DBD requirements you just mentioned, what exactly were they supposed to be?
Well, the county does the best job of it, and so does the school district. Anytime you deal with a project that's a government project, it has disadvantaged businesses initiative. Okay. And so a certain percentage of the work has to go to women and minority contractors, contractors and subcontractors. Sure. There's none whatsoever. So in other words, say your brother is a builder, he doesn't have an opportunity to get in there and to try to do a project because there's no incentive to make the developer give him a place at the table. Even white women that are contractors, there's no incentive to bring them in to do business with them.
How many white women do we have currently in this district, and how many senior citizens we have?
Well, Quintin, the seniors are a lot because they can't go anywhere. I noticed that in my old neighborhood, once they're locked into a residence, they ride it out. They can't move because it's such a tremendous, undertaking to move away. So they stay there and they die there. So you got a lot of Union Heights. You got them in, the Dorchester Terrace. You got them in the Academy area. So they can't go anywhere. So, I mean, it's just it's a great number of them. White women in contracting is a big thing. You have a lot of ladies that have sheetrocking companies. They have different aspects of, contracting businesses that can benefit. And then also African Americans serve a vital role too. But that number is, dwindling down because they don't have the opportunities anymore to participate like that.
How many city contracts were actually awarded last year?
City of North Charleston doesn't have a DBE program at all. None.
Would you be in favor of voting for a minority and women-owned business office in North Charleston?
Yes.
Okay. And you said your old neighborhood. So how long have you been living in District 10?
Well, I've been living in District 10. I sold my property on Meeting Street. The developers bought me, closed out our area. Okay. And so all I did was just move over into District 10, which was still a part of my area anyway. Okay. Just one block over. That's all it was. And so I can tell you, going back to the Gussie Green days, political pondering was done. They, one street over, they drew me out of her district to keep me from running against her. So they tried to do the same thing again. But this is my home district.
And so we know all the changes that are going on right now in District 10. So how many residents did you all actually lose last year?
Well, it's not necessarily the number of losing. It is the footprint for that. So if you have families with property that can't keep it up and they're selling for rock bottom dollars to developers, and then real estate developers, and they're developing them up in time. You saw what happened on the east side of Charleston. That footprint begins to change. It's going to happen here, but we need to work on more affordable housing. And you got to define what affordable housing is, my friend. That's not what's affordable to most people may not be affordable to your parents. So, are you in favor then of attainable housing? Yes. And workforce housing? Yes. Where's the land for all of this in your district? There are pockets within the district. You can make it work within the communities. You can spot build them within the community. You could also, for example, there was some property on Dorchester Road, city didn't even engage in. I was so glad it was deplorable piece of property because it held prostitution and drugs. But they claimed that the person finally sold it. But I thought that was a great spot for workforce housing. We got to get to that. Now, how many homes have been built at a fairly consistent rate in your district? Oh, Quintin, the numbers are going up. I don't have the actual numbers for you, but they're going up. I can take you, if you go home, on your way home, if you ride by Union Heights, you can see the growth. Where do you see that growth rate heading in the next 5 years? It's going to change. It's going to change the footprint of the area. So, in other words, let me just tell you now, and I'm going to be honest. When a district is 63 and African American and 40-something% white at Park Circle, you'll see the numbers change and the African American footprint will even get smaller. So how has that data from that pace of growth, Mr. Hollinshead, allowed the city to understand existing and potential future conditions of your district? Say that one more time, please. How has the data that you obviously talk about when it comes to the pace of growth has allowed the city to understand existing and potential future conditions of your district? They don't care. They don't care. Your councilman doesn't care. If they cared, they would even talk about initiatives, and I would be glad and love to see you interview him and give him those same questions. I don't think he can answer them. They don't have any footprint, what you're talking about. They just kind of go off the cuff. I can remember the mayor's comments, you want to build them, we got land. And he told that to developers and people, but there was no restriction on it. And that's how North Charleston got to be where it is today. the third largest city. But then now it's to the point now we have to define the residents that occupy this area. I'll give you one more quick analogy.
Yes, sir.
Of my opponent. Charleston County Park and Recreation owns the land on the Baker site, and I can't remember the man's name. You know, the billionaire.
Sure.
He donated, bought the land and donated to PRC along with the other tracts of land in there. Charleston County Parks did a survey within this community on what could best do. Now, the citizens said they wanted a park, access to the Ashley River, bike trail, the whole 9 yards. And on the other part, they didn't mind development. So PRC went out and actually did a proposal, which, you know, they do a great job. I was a former commissioner.
Right.
They do a great job of vetting. There's no one-sided to them. They're just straight down the arrow. I mean, I'm serious. I was there. And so the developer, what's his name? Seafox, Freddie Rinkin, won the proposal. I understand he met with the city of North Charleston and his dignitaries and Councilman Brown, and they told him the city didn't want that, but it was PRC's property. So they were going to put the boat plant next to, what is that, the gas company, the Amico up there, and that's contaminated land anyway. And they were going to provide jobs for kids at Burke High School, North Charleston High School, and Stall that did not want to attend college to learn how to build boats. Well, they blocked it. And so then they came back and said, we want to put their $1 million houses, look at the zoning, they changed all $1 million houses, which they can't because it's contaminated land, but they spot zoned it just to block that project. That's illegal. So what happened, Quintin? They went back and said the community said they didn't want it, which was a lie again. When you go back and ask the community, they said nobody knew nothing about it. But they said they came forth with the College of Charleston wanted to put baseball fields there. Now come on. You put $1 million houses out there and baseball fields in the College of Charleston. Look over at Mount Pleasant where the College of Charleston has their baseball field at currently.
Yes, sir.
Do you even see white people out there in Mount Pleasant playing on their field? No. Well, hold up now. But so what that makes you think the local people in this area are going to have access to that property? No.
The better question, Hollinshead, is what would the property value be for these people living in that area?
Well, if it went to R1 and they went to $1 million homes, the people in Ackerby, the people in Union Heights, and surrounding areas, property value with taxes would go up tremendously. If they had it, you know, the current mayor's way and Councilman Brown's way, the value would go up. Now the way that's being proposed right now, it would not go up. And then they lied to the people and said, oh, Ackerby would be decimated if we were to put this project out there on there, which was a lie.
Let me ask you this then. Where else in this district have they spot zoned properties?
Hadn't. This is the first time. And if you talk to the state senators, they'll tell you that's illegal. So it's going to be one way or the other. It's going to be held in the courts, and PRC is going to win. And so they'll get a park out there, they get development out there, but that's illegal to spot zone.
Wow. So whatever zoning changes have affected people's property value in this district?
Well, say for example on Garfield in the Ackerby community, one of my supporters, they did a zoning change in there, and I can shoot you the pictures. I took pictures of it.
Yes, sir.
It was one property that's deemed for one house. A real estate developer came in and bought it and jammed two-story houses on there. But the neighbors in the area did not know that the zoning change happened for that to happen. So what this councilman is doing, he goes in and changes zonings to meet developers' needs and then turn back and change it back.
What exactly are the developers' needs for this area?
Well, it's money, Quintin. They develop to make money. If you're going to make money off of housing and it's able for you to make the benefit in that area, you're going to go make $1. You don't care what it does. Well, how they do it?
Right. Where in this district, Hollinshead, do you... What's more important for this district right now? Is it building new homes or commercial space or rehabbing, expanding, and better utilizing those space?
Combination. Has to be a combination. Has to be a balance to it. You cannot be overbearing on one and not the other. In these businesses, there needs to be a partnership between the businesses and the community. There needs to be community seminars going on that brings everybody to the table and let people have input. The problem is that people do not have input on what's going on. Even the small businesses in the area don't have input on what's happening. It's being done by two people, current administration mayor and Councilman Brown.
How many small businesses do we currently have in this district?
I didn't take an actual count. I can get it for you.
Where in this district do you identify and also develop those unique characteristics when it comes to residential, commercial, and mixed use?
Say that one more time, please.
Where else do you identify and also develop those unique characteristics when it comes to, obviously, mixed use, commercial, and residential in this area?
Well, it depends on the area. Reynolds Avenue,
Yes,
for example, is a development piece that's for storefronts.
Oh, yes.
And then behind is a neighborhood. It's similar to Park Circle, and it used to be that way when we were growing up, and then it kind of just died out. You have areas like that it could be a combination that could benefit the area. Right over here on Rivers Avenue in the stretch, that was a combination area of businesses within the community that people can drive to or walk to and enjoy it. I tell you, I think their concern, and I could be wrong.
Okay.
They have the greatest homeless population in this area, so they're trying to find a way to push it out. But I think what you need to do is you need to try to find the facilities to put those folks in and take them off of the road. But let me tell you now,
yes, sir.
There's not an easy answer to that.
Okay.
I went to a convention one time. I can't think of what city it was, or Boston.
Oh, yes, sir.
And I saw the homeless population, even with the most adequate facilities, people want to live on the streets.
Wow.
So some things you just can't change.
Where are the facilities right now, or what ideal facilities would help the situation?
They're downtown. They're downtown on Mean Street. Those missions are in the city.
Oh, yes.
You don't have any here in North Charleston. You have very few. Like I said, Working Together has one.
Oh, yes.
But again, it's not a room and board facility. But like I said, they want to do battered women and children facilities, which is vitally important. But that was blocked.
How inviting is Rivers Avenue right here from a business perspective?
Very. Remember Rivers Avenue was the #1 economic hub when we were growing up. When I was a young man, it led the county in development and opportunity.
Wow.
It's going to come back, but again, you need to have a person at the helm that can again bring the community, the new members of Charleston, North Charleston, the members that can't move and go anywhere, bring them together and let them have a casual conversation on what they think they need to have. During those developments, like I was telling you on Garfield, changing the zone, when those neighbors looked up and saw those two houses going up in their community, they jammed in on a piece of property, and one of them was right close to a grand oak tree. And I'm sitting there like the neighbor said, the councilman didn't even talk to them about it. All they did was just did it.
And what's the current property value right there of those two homes?
You get them bought them for maybe about $50,000 to $75,000, and then you put the investment in, and it goes up to $125,000, $150,000.
Wow!
So that guy's gonna probably make close to $200,000 on both pieces of property. If he doesn't rent it, he's gonna sell it.
And if he sells that, then what?
Then he just tries to do it again. Finds another piece of property he can invest in. That's what's happening in Score, Cherokee, really Union Heights. That's what's happening there.
Wow. You know North Charleston better than anyone else. So if North Charleston is an industrial workforce city, why is the city changing that and your district?
Well, I think they're changing it because he sees an economic interest for him, even though he's leaving the office.
Okay.
He's trying to make sure that his slate of council members win, so he can continue to do what he's been doing while he was in office. That's why you have him backing the mayor candidate under the scenes in everybody's council race. There's the B factor in there. So, I mean, just sometimes the old folks said dog suck an egg till you get caught. I mean, you're going to continue to suck an egg until people recognize what you're doing.
If you were to get in office, would you, on day one as councilman, ask for an independent audit of this particular city?
Well, I think what you're going to find out, and I said this in the other day in the debate, with all these massive developments going on, Liberty Hills facility was not dealt with. Union Heights has the Gethsemane Center.
Right.
Dorchester Road on Barnes Avenue, they don't have a center. On the Dorchester Road corridor area, they have a little center. So when those folks start saying they want to have their facilities modernized or developed again, you're going to find the city's going to say it has no money because he spent $40 million in Park Circle. He spent X amount of money up there in Dorchester County. So then we're going to have to take a back seat. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to either have to raise taxes, which I don't particularly care for that, but you're going to have to try to find out ways to deal with that. And see, a lot of people want to run for office, and then you got to understand a capital reserve fund that is used to run the city, that goes toward projects, unrestricted money that only is being used one time, and that's what they did, for example, to those nonprofits. They got that $1.3 million. That's not reoccurring money. But you can take that kind of money and you can use that to repair senior citizen homes within District 10 and put it to use. Then you got rainy day funds. The rainy day funds are in there for in case the hard times hit, like COVID, and the city runs for 3 months off of those funds. So everybody claims they want to run for council, but I've been in government for years and I understand how it operates.
Do you understand this over $100 million budget?
Yes, sir.
What line item would you put in that budget for capital projects in your district?
I would go to those unrestricted funds and try to find a way to use that within my district. I would work on CBG block grant money to redefine. So they give it all to Metanoia right now, but I would find a way to make sure that it gets, the city handles that, and it gets to people in my district and other districts that vitally need it. Can you imagine someone with a $650 light bill? If you came in and you weatherized the house, give them insulation, new windows, insulation of the floors, how that would drop the bill by 30%. Someone living on a fixed income, that is a great help. So I would try to I'll concentrate on that.
So how much money has that block grant money provided for Metanoia?
Oh gosh, I have to get back with you on that. It is a considerable amount of money.
Now,
but it runs out, and it has to be refueled every so often.
And how soon does that get refueled?
Every budget year.
Okay. And that unrestricted money, how much money is that currently?
It just depends on what the city has allocated for it. It can be in the millions. It could be. I'm just saying, for example, $56 million.
Right.
In the school district, we have unrestricted funds with about like $200 and something million.
Right.
Now, the school district is a lot bigger organization than the city of North Charleston.
Right.
So it just depends on what they have designated in there.
So what is the city's current fund balance?
Well, the fund balance, the restricted, is based upon the projects that they have in the pipe, like Park Circle, Danny Jones, and other projects that they have. That's what's in that particular pot of money.
Wow.
It could be $200,000, $300,000. I mean, it could be, it could be $2 million. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
But that is designated for those repairs.
And what repairs are needed right now in District 10?
Look at the tank farm. I mean, the mitigation that went on with the Navy base, the ports authority, they were supposed to put a gym there. I think that's now just beginning to get on the way, but they gave it to a group, and the group held the money for years, or had access to the money for years, but it wasn't enough to, I think it's like $1 million, maybe $2 million. But it wasn't enough to build a facility. Facilities cost every bit of $6-7 million. So now the port again took back over the project, and now they're moving it forward to have it developed. Quintin, it just doesn't take a rocket scientist to drive around the district and see the big difference between this plotted area Park Circle, and even going further south, further north up Rivers Avenue, then come back, and then you can see how the disparity is.
What is that disparity rate?
Well, it's just obvious. You just have to look at it. It doesn't need numbers to it. You can see that, Quintin. It's obvious, it's visual.
And let me go back earlier. You talked about visual. Let me talk to you about, obviously, crime. So, to reduce crime, Mr. Hollinshead, how would you ask the police chief to place multiple quick response police officers throughout your district to reach higher crime neighborhoods faster?
Well, again, you would have to go back to community policing. You know, the officers have to know the community. I did that when I was young. They made you stay in that area. You lived in that area pretty much patrolling, and you got to know the people, and you got to know what was what. Let me give you a good example. The club over here called The Ritz had a couple of shootings. You know, they parked in front of neighbors' houses, the whole 9 yards. And so they're telling the owner, you know, it happened out on the street, but you need to pay for security. Well, those citizens in that community, if a stray bullet goes in their house, the bullet has no name. So what you should have done is you should have put police officers on that street patrolling during the operating hours of that club, which would now going to deter what was going on in that neighborhood. So those are common sense things that you can do to deter crime.
And what else should be needed from the police department when it comes to District 10?
They probably need adequate funding, but you need to look at their funding and see where they're at. But you got to see what techniques they're using to deter crime. That is a big part of it.
What techniques should they be using to deter crime?
Community policing, I just told you that.
Right. What is the state of community policing in this city?
They don't have it. They don't have it. They're not putting adequate resources into it.
How much money should they put towards that?
Well, it depends on the manpower. It depends on the problem areas.
What other problem areas are there in District 10?
Union Heights, Core Cherokee. Academy is pretty calm now.
Sure.
The Surrey area of Dorchester Road, you know, those areas that normally have crime all the time need to have a concentration of police efforts in there to figure out what's going on. Look at the situation that went on, and not in the district, but across the street at the convenience store when a young man got shot. Then they waited a week later and retaliated and went across the street and shot at the man's mother's house. You know, your surveillance and intelligence should have told you something was going to happen. But you let it happen and then you responded after the fact. You know, back in the days of the Chevy Harrises and guys like that I worked with in law enforcement would have figured that one out and they would have deterred it.
Wow.
And I'm going to tell you now, beat a dead horse, but Sheriff Howard Cannon was good at that too. He had took enough beating from folks that he always worked on deterrent.
Why isn't this police department not geared for conflict resolution?
Well, conflict resolution, you're talking about something that I think they're doing, the school district is doing in the schools.
But what about the city of North Charleston?
Well, I don't think they're actively participating in that. I know that the school district through Shaquem Marquette and Pastor Ravenel are doing what they can in the school system to work on conflict resolution, but then it needs to be a part that goes in the neighborhood to follow those kids or to follow the issues back to the community. North Charleston not taking part in that, I'm pretty sure, because you would have heard them brag about it.
Kevin Hollinshead, thank you so much for your time, and again, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Oh, boy, I tell you, you come with the hard questions. We enjoy it.